It's a Good Friday edition of the Clay Young Show. Roll it, Kyle. Welcome to episode 92 of the Clay Young Show right here on WBRZ Plus. A number of great things to talk about tonight. We highlight one of Baton Rouge's most honorable nonprofits. Of course, we got to talk about those Lady Tigers. And we highlight a young man who's making science his thing. But we begin tonight with a member of the Metro Council here in Baton Rouge, Rowdy Gaudet, representing District 3.
District 3.
Here
right.
in the city of Baton Rouge. And it's been an interesting week for us here, and we'll get to the LSU win in a moment. I want to get your thoughts on that. But first, I'd like to start with your thoughts on the two officers that we've memorialized this week, died in the line of duty. There you see them on the screen, Sergeant Poirier and Corporal Canizero. Your thoughts on the fallen heroes?
Well, thank you, Clay, and thanks for the opportunity to come on. I think right now we're at a time in our community where we just got to shower these families with prayer and support. One of my favorite sayings, whether it's a death in the family or something like this that impacts our entire community, is when we cry out to God in anguish, God responds by sending us people. We need people to surround us during these moments, and our community needs to show up for the families of these two officers, and frankly for their colleagues and their comrades on the force as well. And I would say for our chief as well. When you take on a leadership position, you sense a lot of responsibility in these scenarios. And so I call upon our community, let's shower these folks with prayers.
Absolutely.
During this time.
You and I were chatting before the show started. We have had 10 officers die in the last 8 years. Obviously, we lost 3 on one day in July of 2016.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
We eventually lost Nick Toulier to that same incident. We've had a couple of officers die from COVID.
That's right.
We had these 2 young men die recently. And it's a traumatic thing, and it's way above the average of law enforcement agencies. But you said something that I think we really should drill down on, and that's the support of the community. And you see it from pretty much every corner of Baton Rouge. People stand together to honor the sacrifice of these men. I wish that was the energy we had absent tragedy, don't you?
I'm so glad you said that, because yes, being an officer in this day and age and in this time has its challenges on all fronts. And so yes, let's show up when tragedy occurs, but let's let our officers know we support them at all times.
Sure.
Taking care of a community, providing safety for a community comes with a lot of complications. And so we should do what we can as a community to show support.
And I don't know if people understand how diverse the Baton Rouge Police Department is, both by race and gender and perspectives. It's a pretty diverse organization, and they care about the community. Let's dovetail into public safety and crime here. That's always at the top of mind, and you're an elected. Last year we saw a 23% reduction in homicides across the parish. Still, one is way too many, but what is your take on where we are right now?
Well, public safety obviously is one of the top priorities from our community. So therefore, for the legislative body, the Metro Council, we need to reflect that. And so having constant attention on, are we putting the resources that are necessary for our public safety personnel? And that goes beyond just the police department. That's some of our proactive, that's our EMS, fire, Homeland Security. So all of that I put under the umbrella of public safety and protecting our community. So for our community right now, they're communicating to us that's a top priority, and we should continue to keep focus on it.
What does the council do to support higher pay for officers, because it's a competitive industry, maybe more so now than ever before, and then support the department with the equipment they need to adequately protect the public?
So a couple of things there. Let me start with the equipment first. So we actually got an opportunity that was a result of COVID, in that a lot of American Rescue Plan dollars came to our community, and working with the executive branch as your legislative body, we put a lot of those dollars, those resources, to our law enforcement personnel, upgrade equipment, new vehicles, all the resources that we could get with those dollars. Let's pour that into the department. And then BRPD specifically, they've done an efficiency study just a couple of years ago, and there's still some things to realize from that in order to equate to, let's put that towards raises for those officers. I'm not in the camp of let's use one-time dollars, referencing those ARP
that does not work.
towards recurring expenditures.
Right.
Exactly. So let's keep looking at how we're doing business. Can we be more efficient? And let's look on the other side of the ledger and let's see, are there opportunities where we can provide these increases?
I got about 90 seconds here, and there's a couple things, but the first one I want to get to is if we can do both, we will. But the first one is about this legislation you've got coming that deals with vape shops.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, this again came from the community, which is really the best way that legislation can come forward. I've had several parents, frankly, parents in our community come to me and say, you know, these types of stores and these shops, they seem to be popping up everywhere. And one mother said, this is really close to where my middle schooler goes to school. And so her concern was the distance, and so I started researching it. We've got nothing related to distance requirements for vape shops. Now we have distance requirements for alcohol, if someone's going to sell alcohol. So I viewed this in a similar manner. So I said, well, let's go take a look at what are some best practices. Let's look at distance requirements. Let's look at, do other communities have anything on the books to regulate these types of stores? Because we are starting to see them more frequently in our community, and we want to develop in a way that shows that we care about our community.
I got a little less than 30 seconds. How can people find you on social or learn more about where you stand on it?
Sure. Well, the Baton Rouge brla.gov website certainly has a connection to me, to my office. rgaudet@brla.gov is the email address. Best way to reach me, always on the email. So happy to be responsive to any needs.
Appreciate you coming on the show, bud. The next segment is a manner of the heart. I'll explain. Give me 2 minutes.